Hi guys, it's SkintBoot here, and today what I'm going to be bringing you guys is a No Man's Sky video. And in today's video, what I'm going to be looking at once again is the Visions update, and more specifically, different ways that the update could have been even better than it already is. For this video, I want to suggest alternate features or changes to the added features that would have helped the update deliver some more unique concepts and even better content than it already brought to No Man's Sky. But let me make it overly clear right away that I'm not trying to say that Visions was disappointing or lackluster or anything like that. In fact, I think it's probably one of my favourite updates to date. But like most things, there is always room for improvement, and it's healthy to look at what could have changed or made differently to get a different kind of response from the update. As always, let me know your thoughts on different routes Visions could have gone down, and we can have a good old debate in the comment section. But anyway, with all of that said and done, please do sit back and relax. Let's get started. Okay, so the first thing which I believe would have made Visions even better is relating to the newer archaeology aspects of digging up ancient bones. Visions added this feature in as a means of earning more units, but the feature does also provide a little bit of backstory and context to animals that lived thousands of years before on a certain planet. In my opinion, it is a very nice addition, and it is one that does add a much greater feeling of belonging to the planet. It has a past and actually has previous events happen on it. You aren't the only thing to have ever stepped foot on it. I guess it's sort of like lore, but on a much lesser and kind of low-key scale. However, my issue with these bone digging events is that their only purpose is to sell. The greater quality the bones are, the more units you get. And yes, I guess this is exactly the same to the other relics you can dig up around the site of an ancient ruin, but this is the exact same missed opportunity. It kind of applies for both of them. I believe that what Visions could have done easily to make this feature even better was have an option to actually use these bone fragments for something other than selling and making money. My thinking is to let us put them in a display cabinet, or maybe if we collected all of the correct pieces, actually assemble the full skeleton and have it on like a little podium in our bases. And what gives this idea even more logic is the ranking system of the discovered bones. Some bones which you find are shattered or in general poor condition, and these could be sold, for example, because they don't really have a purpose. However, the more intact, rare ones which you can locate would have the secondary option of using them to rebuild. Hell, why not even make it so there's a secondary quest to restore broken bones? Perhaps some kind of powered machine that you have to build and charge up every time, but it restores the bones to their former glory. In general, what I'm trying to get across here is that these discoveries shouldn't only be about making money. Not everything in No Man's Sky should be centered around discovering stuff to sell. It's cool when you dig them up and you can read the little bit of backstory about them, and you sort of look at it for a bit and go, oh, that's pretty fucking neat. But then all you do after that is fly to a space station and palm it off to a Gek. There needs to be a little bit more behind it than simply looking at it for 10 or 20 seconds. Having the other option to actually keep these bones on show, kind of like how you can now collect exotic planet plants as trophies, would give more variety and choice to the added archaeology feature. Up next is a bit of a smaller feature, but one that would have fit nicely into the additions of Visions, and that is the introduction of extra weather effects. So with Visions, we obviously got rainbows, and although they do look quite cute, and I guess they had some more opportunities for photos, they're sort of a precise element. It's one that could have benefited so much more from other additions in that same kind of semantic field. I think the one which a lot of us were leaning towards the most was lightning or thunder. Rainbows come into the atmosphere after rain and clear skies meet, but that doesn't happen a great deal in No Man's Sky. It depends on the planet, depends if it even rains on that planet, so there's a lot of kind of variables that need to be in place for you to actually see it. But what we do get a fair amount of, more than clear skies and rain, is simple storms or just rain in general. And what is missing from these storms to make them actual storms? Violent weather. Visions could have added something like thunder or lightning, as stated, into the game, which is a fairly easy task if they can do the same thing with rainbows. And yes, it doesn't really sound like a big feature, feature, and trust me, this is quite a niche thing to bring up, but in terms of realism and immersion, it does make the most amount of sense. I strongly believe No Man's Sky needs a weather overhaul in general, with more varied storms and procedural effects like stronger winds, lighter rain, etc. Kind of like a Battlefield style dynamic weather system, but small visual additions are a good starting place. You'll find that this is a common motif throughout this video, and that is why it would have been perfect if Visions did exactly this. As I said, it shouldn't have been too hard to implement something that is extremely similar to a rainbow, and it would fit in with the game, looking more aesthetically pleasing with Visions. I know it's probably not a feature that everyone jumps up and screams in delight when it's mentioned, but it's sometimes the smaller things that make a bigger difference, and I would know about that. Up next is a feature that's more to do with the diversity side of things and can be viewed as a little too much for an update of the size of Visions, but that is more immersive flora. We essentially had a flora update with Visions, but for only anomalous planets and hazardous plants for whatever reason, not just general alien flora. This is clearly due to the size of the update and the fact that not a lot of development time was spent on it, but the one thing that I've always wanted to see is a texture and feature overhaul of plant life. Take trees in No Man's Sky, for example. The only diversity with these models comes from the colour of the leaves, the colour of the trunk, and perhaps the design of the leaves themselves. However, what I think Visions could have done is do a model overhaul as such. Adding procedural aspects to plants like vines, moss, and maybe even sharp twigs, all with their own set of rules and models, would have been amazing. It would mean that instead of looking at one tree and seeing a dozen of the same on a single planet, each one may indeed have a slightly different structure of its roots, or maybe even signs of wear from weather or animals. In my opinion, as I've said, the smaller details always do matter, and I would personally love to have actually inspected a tree to notice some more unique features. You know, stuff which would always be there, but wouldn't necessarily be noticed unless you actually bothered to take a glance at it. Again, this may seem like a fairly pointless addition, but in terms of No Man's Sky and the procedural nature of the game, it would indeed make each model feel a bit less copied and pasted. If you saw one tree, you wouldn't sort of think, okay, that's it, I've seen all of the trees on this planet, and then leave. You'd think maybe that one has something interesting on it, maybe that one has a smaller detail on a bit of the bark or something like that. It's the little features which people that are really immersed in the game and really up for discovering new things would probably find quite interesting. I think we can all agree that an overhaul of flora in terms of procedurally generated content is much needed, and yes, there will be a video on that hopefully fairly soon. But for now, all we can do is, again, request some smaller additions that would eventually build up to some big, fat, grand update that we have all been waiting for. If good old Hella Games are listening right now, and you know that you are, like you obviously are, then please do focus some more attention on the procedural side of No Man's Sky. I want that level of detail where even the marks on trees are slightly different to each other. Really little things, but overall just add to the kind of discovery aspect of the game. So that is just about all I have to say for this video. This is really scummy because it looks like I'm trying to reach 10 minutes. I'm not. The original recording is so much longer, but when I edit it, it's gonna get cut down. And look, I'm not money hungry, okay? This is just a fucking coincidence. One thing which I do want to bring up, and I will make a bigger video on this, is that I have now set up the channel membership thing for MZK. I'm not really entirely sure how it works. All I know is that you pay a certain amount, I think every month, and you get like a little badge, so when you comment I can see how long you've donated for and things like that. I guess it's a way of supporting a channel. But yeah, that's live. I'm gonna make a video explaining it and outlining all of it, but if you guys want to actually, you know, join that and support me a little bit, then I will be very grateful for that. Again, I will make a video on that later down the line. But in terms of this video, that is just about all I have to say. I just want to thank you guys very much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. If you guys enjoyed it, then please do feel free to leave a like on it, and if you guys could also subscribe to MZK, then that'd be absolutely fantastic. And as always, I will see you guys on my next video. This is SkintBoot, signing out.